What's up? It's your boy John again. Thought I would come by and talk a little bit about what I was talking about yesterday about finger complexes. And it's just a complicated way to say that your hand is made with a network of tendons, which is another way to say like your fingers are dependent on one another. And this is all from the Chopin school of music, where prior to Chopin, a lot of J.S. Bach, Mozart, keyboard players, it was all about finger independence. But when Chopin came along, he was saying, well, our hands are naturally dependent on one another based on the tendons. So this one, you see hardly any motion. You do this, you see that the ring finger is forced to come along. And so how do we use these tendons to make the motion for tremolo easier? So I want to toss out a few ideas, and just so that it opens up uh, different ways to experiment, right? So I'm just giving you examples, and hopefully it gives you a different perspective on how to experiment on all this. Uh, so first off, uh, I would say just doing this, or even just like having this on your side. Sometimes I just have my hand on the side or something. Just doing this very fast, smoothly. And this itself breaks a lot of mental barriers, because doing this without the string, if you can't do this without the string, it's hard to imagine that you can do it with the string, right? So just like doing this motion, and then when you're actually practicing in your brain, you're like, my fingers, they can move that fast. Because when we're practicing slowly, it's kind of like hard to envision that our fingers can even move that fast. So it's just like breaks the mental barrier, saying like, if I relax, keep this motion fluid, anyone can do it. Anyone can just anyone. That's why I think anyone can learn the tremolo. Anyone. So how do we reach this fluid state, and what keeps it from getting to this feeling? So I have a chopstick here. You can have a pencil or whatever, and just try and naturally pick it up. And of course, as us lefties, we don't naturally pick things up with our right hand, but just go ahead and pick it up with your right hand. And the goal is to just use the tip of your fingers and your thumb to just pick it up. And don't think about it, just pick it up, right? And this is what I have, right? The thumb is right underneath the middle finger, and it's well balanced. If I try to move it up a little bit, it feels less natural, right? It doesn't seem right. So just relax it, just naturally pick it up. It's like this every time, at least for me. But that's probably because, I don't know, I do this a lot for violin practice, but it really has helped a lot in trying to think about tremolo. So what keeps us from thinking about finger dependence, and what is causing us to think of finger independence? So when you pick your chopstick or pencil up like this is like your ideal playing position for any piece, aside from tremolo pieces. So if you put it down like this is the string. Let's say it's slanted a little bit like this. Your thumb comes up like this. This is like your ideal playing position for most pieces. And in this case, it's fine because the fingers are ready to do their job when called to do it. So it's like relaxed so that independence can really happen. But when we do the tremolo, let's bring this back to this position. When you do the tremolo, the problem of this position is that the idea is that usually the distance of your index and ring finger are about the same on the string. And so if you just relax your middle finger, it sticks out a lot. I'm exaggerating, but it does stick out a lot. And every time you do a tremolo, trying to compensate for this finger is a nightmare. It takes a lot of effort and practice just to get this one finger consistent, where it almost always seems like these two are relatively easy to do, right? This one really sticks out. And in trying to bring this to this level, it kind of messes up with the other two fingers a little bit. And so the way that I get around it for tremolo playing is there are two ways to think about it. And so this is where the experimentation comes in, is when you drop it down, think about grabbing it just like this. That's one way to do it. I'll show you the other way. So just like the tip of your fingers like this. It's different, right? The tip of your thumb is no longer underneath this finger here. And the ring finger is naturally a little bit up. It can come down like this, but it's gently resting. It's not creating any tension at all. If I put tension like this, you see how it already moves? Whereas like if we just pick it up like this, any tension here is well balanced by the thumb. But if you pick it up with just these fingers, there's a lot more motion that can happen. So this guy's just along for the ride. And when we bring it down, also let's curve it a little bit so that the attack is again on the side of the nail. And when we bring it down, I'm not gonna put any force on this at all. You see how it already automatically moves? I'm just only putting force on the middle and index finger, showing that the ring finger is dependent based on the tendons of our hands. And so doing this rolling is a little bit easier, even though the ring finger is doing more motion, it's doing more work, but in reality, it's not doing that much more work because it's relying a lot on the motion of the other fingers. So this is with energy, this is without energy. I'm not putting any force on this. So that's one way to do it. I do this way definitely for when I strike with my B string. I do more of this when I am tremoloing off the B string. Here's another way. And I like doing this when I'm trembling off the E string, is instead of grabbing it like this, grabbing it like this. If you grab it like this, notice basically the thumb is over here and your finger is jutting out a little bit. And I do like extending out a little bit. So on the E string, it looks like this. Alternatively, it can look like this. In my opinion, it is useful to know both. So in this case, and why are we doing this? The reason why we're doing this is to, instead of having these two being equal distant and being the reference points for every roll, that creates this jutting out finger. But if we make this into the reference point, it forces us to this position or this position. Do you see kind of the interesting differences? And so you see why this one, I like this for the B string, because I like the ring finger tucked back to make sure that I don't hit the E string. But I like this for when I'm playing on the E string. So this is how I kind of play on the E string. This is kind of how I play on the B string. Isn't that kind of weird? And so you gotta experiment with, how do I keep a natural line for my fingers so that I can take advantage of the fact that my tendons are connected like this? And using the middle finger as the reference frame for the distance, I think leads you to that line more so than if you kept the traditional playing pattern where this guy sticks out a little bit too much. All right? Just some ideas on how the hand could look different based on, how your hand looks, what's comfortable to you. Obviously, there are so many different ways. There are people who play it with their pinky out like this, people who are super fanned out more than usual, people who are way more like this and very anti what I just said. They've really figured out how to do this motion. So it's really up to you to decide. I'm just saying, break out of the mold of what you know as guitar playing and just get rid of it. Because sometimes trying to get this one trick down can require you to kind of break a lot of those molds. So again, this is me holding it like this, and then there's me holding it like this. And I personally think that I need both. All right, cool. Let me know what you think. Happy practicing.